Good morning everyone. Monday morning, it's time for our Ready to Run series. So this is where we're working on your breathing, your movement patterns, your foot strength and flexibility, and your leg strength and hip stability. All things really important for you to be able to run effectively, efficiently, get the most out of it, get more power, more stamina and less risk of injury. So those are the really important things. So if you are joining us this morning, and hello, if I think somebody's just popped on, good morning, do make sure that you've got a nice safe clear working area. You've got something that you can use that's a suitable height for a bit of support if you need it. We're going to try as we go along to use that less and less. So we're going to start off this morning with some breathing exercises, and then we're going to have a look at foot flexibility and strength before we move on to some slightly more challenging work. Okay, so I'm going to get you to come into your good standing posture, which is heels underneath your hip bones. Check that your toes are level and your feet are parallel. Toes are pointing forwards. So really try, even if you normally stand like this, to get rid of that turnout. Okay, that's not going to do anything for your pelvic stability. So parallel feet, even if it feels a little bit weird. Alright, so now we're going to take the hands. I want you to get the crook of the hand around the bottom of your ribs and just relax the shoulders down. Now think about bringing the chin back. Head posture, really important for not only good breathing, but pelvic floor. It's a long, complicated story, I won't go into that. Okay, but chin back so that you feel the muscles in the front of your throat switch on. Now we're going to practice our breathing. Big breath in through the nose into your hands. Exhale through the mouth. Big breath in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Now what I'd like you to be noticing for as you carry on that breathing pattern for me is particularly the thumbs. Are you feeling them both push away the same amount? Have you got one side of your rib cage at the back a bit tighter than the other? Okay, so really feel for that. Is one side expanding much more easily than the other? If it is, you're going to try and breathe into the side that needs a bit more assistance. So these are the long oxygenating breaths you're going to try and maintain while you're running. They're going to help you to stop getting stitches and getting cramp. Okay, so from there, we're going to keep that breathing pattern going, but let's bring the arms down, shoulders back and wide, chin back. Now lift from the little fingers, bring your arms up. So you should have felt that that came from here rather than here. So we lead with the little fingers. Right, foot pedals. So the elbow comes back, we're going to lift the heel, roll back down. So as you're doing that, just take your awareness into your feet. As you go forwards, is your ankle doing a little bit of a circle? Can you keep it tracking in a completely straight line? Are you pressing into your middle toe, second toe, as you come forwards? Both those toes should feel more of the pressure definitely than your little toe. Are you landing back into the centre of your heel? Are you maintaining parallel feet? Lots to think about on such a simple move. But really trying to lift that heel as high as you can, getting a very good bend in those toes. We're just going to do one more. Right, we're going to take hands onto the hips because I want you to think about your feet now. We're going to peel that heel up, come right the way up onto the toe. Now push your heel forwards and feel your arch contract. Let's lift, roll back down. Peel up, push forwards, contracting that arch. So if your arches aren't very strong, you might feel like your foot's going to go into cramp a little bit. So maybe don't force it too far, but this is also going to give you a very good stretch down the front of the leg, front of the foot, help helping you to avoid shin splints. So if you do get that, this is a good stretch to do. We'll do one more each foot, so really articulating through. And down, one last one. And back down. Okay, coming over to your support that you're using this morning. Facing it, we're going to take both hands on, feet in parallel position, shoulders wide. Now try and bring that pelvis into neutral and just check you haven't locked your kneecaps back. That's going to make you arch. Okay, so neutral pelvis, soft kneecaps. We're going into a little bend and stretch. So you're just going to bend the knees over the toes, push back up. So really feel that connection into the floor and notice what your feet are doing. Are your knees wanting to come together? Are your arches rolling inwards? So try and use your hips, okay, to keep that really good movement pattern. You want to be using these muscles down here, keeping those knees out. 2 more. Now we're going into rises. You're going to come up onto your toes, as light a touch onto that support as you can. If you can, do it without. See how you get on. Pulling up and down. So remember, this is an up and down movement rather than a rocking forwards and back. So if you're rocking forwards and back, you're not getting a calf lift. Think pull up and stay pretty much the same distance away from your support as when your heels are down. We're going to do one more. Okay, now we're going to put those two together into hip rolls. So hands back on, shoulders wide, bend the knees, lift the heels, push up and down. So again, you're thinking about that movement pattern, knees going straight forwards and pressing into that middle toe. So we're just keeping building and building on technique here. Heels up and down. So you're going to bend, lift the heels up and down. Rolling through those feet and pushing up through the floor. So really use the floor. Push away from it. Last one. Now we're going to stay up here and go into your foot pedals from above. So you're going to bend one knee, push the other heel down. So try and show a good rise in the middle. So you're up on both toes and then one heel goes down. So this is just about you keeping that awareness of how your body's moving, how your knees are tracking over your toes, and whether your hips are doing a bit of a salsa. So try and keep them really steady so that we're using leg muscles rather than your back muscles. Now come back to that rise for me. We're going to hold it. Take your arms off your support and slowly roll back down. Okay. We're going to come into a little variation on that. We're going to add some little bits in, but we're going to start from the top this time. We're reversing the movement. Let's rise onto the toes, bend the knees, push down, straighten, rise, bend. Now this is great for your Achilles tendon. So if you get to here, as you push down, if you find that your hips are lifting, if you can't keep them at that level, we need to work a bit more on Achilles tendon. So bend, push and straighten, rise, bend, push and straighten. Now we're going to rise, we're going to hold that bend, we're going to pulse the hips down. So I want you to feel those hamstrings working, hamstrings and quads. 2 more and push up, lower down. Okay, reversing again. Start with a bend, bend, heels up and down. So feel what's happening across the ball of the foot As you start to lift those heels, where's the pressure going? If it's going into your little toe, just try and think about pressing into the ball of the foot where your middle toe and your second toe is instead. That's going to really help you. Right, one more and we're going to hold that bend again with the heels up. Now the heels are going down and up. Down, down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Pushing up and rolling back down. Really good. Let's give those calves a little stretch out. So let's just step back, ease the heel down into the floor and step in. Step back, ease the heel down and in. So we're just going to alternate with some nice slow heel pushes here. Make sure your hips stay square to the front. And that leg isn't turning in or out. One more each leg. And in. Okay, time for a bit of work on those hips. So coming back round to facing this way, we'll stay hip distance. You can take the other hand just onto your hip because I want you to check that your hips are staying level while you do this. You're going to slide your leg out to the front, bring it back in, slide it out to the side, bring it back in, take it to the back, bring it back in. So we're going to go to the side again. Okay, so it's front, side, back, to the side. Okay, like a little half cross shape. Front, in, side, in. Really important when you go to the side especially that this hip doesn't lift up. You want to feel that muscle down here working instead. So switching on, activating the right muscles rather than using your back for stability. To the side, to the back, and then to the side. Now, with a little lift, front, lift, and in, side, lift. Now that's where it gets harder, and in. That leg isn't going to go very high without the body compromising. Side again, pull up, and in. Front, and in. So I don't want you to go too high. And in to the back, and into the side. Now I bet your standing leg's feeling it a bit, so let's take it across, come into a hip stretch. So remember to keep the spine tall so you can keep that breath flowing, because it's when you get to the end of that run and you're tired and you collapse over and you're trying to get oxygen into your body, but what you've actually done is compressed your lungs. So you can't get that oxygen in. So think about keeping a tall spine no matter how shattered you are. And pushing back up. So one more here. From that parallel position, we're taking the leg out to the side. You're going to flex the foot to bring your toes off the floor. Now we're going to push that leg diagonally back, bring it back in. Push the heel away and in. I'm going for 4 more. And 3. 2 more. Now we're going to hold this last one. Can you give me some circles from the hip? 4, 3, 2. Keep pushing that leg away, other way, change direction. 3, 2, 1, and back in. Okay, to the other side. Right, so back to our good standing posture, keeping that nice parallel position. Hand onto the hip, we're going to the front and in, just sliding along the floor for now, pushing to the back and to the side again. To the front, side, to the back, and then to the side again. To the front, side, to the back, side. Last time. To the back, and then to the side. Right, with the lift. So we're coming forwards, lift, and in, side, lift. Really try not to hitch that hip. To the back, lift, and in, to the side, and into the front, and down, side, and into the back, and into the side. Keep pulled up and in. Okay, into your hip stretch. Press that knee back, long spine, deep long breaths. And pushing back up. Right, taking that leg out to the side once more. Flex the foot to lift the toes off. You're going to push diagonally back and in. Push and in. Keep it going, nearly there. 2 more. And hold. Let's go into circles. 4, 3, 2, 1. Other way. And bring it in. Okay, just give me a little knee bend. Just release those hips. And push up. Right, I'm seeing lots of messages popping up. Good morning, everyone. Right. Okay, so from there, we're going to work on our single leg movements now. So turning back to face your chair. Okay, you don't want to be too far away because if you're having to reach, it's going to take you off balance. So you want to be where your elbows are soft, your arms aren't reaching, shoulders wide. And you're going to pick up one foot, just tuck it in, and rising up onto the toes and down. I'm a little bit too close there. You've got to have room for your knee. So how much are you relying on that support? Have you got a very light touch, or are you pressing onto it to get up? So you want to try not to use it if you can. Two more. Okay, taking that knee back into your single leg lunges. Let's hinge forward slightly. Now this is where your knee needs to go right over your toes, and watch for that hip sticking out to the side. Again, can you do this without your support? 2 more. Are you gripping the floor with your toes? Try not to. And in. Okay, changing legs. Shoulders back and wide. Pulling up. Now you'll have one side that's better than the other, probably. And I know this isn't my good side. So really trying to get that heel away from the floor, pressing into your middle toe. How's your breathing doing? Are we getting any shoulder breathing yet? One more. Okay, let's take that knee back. Hinge forward slightly, big long deep breaths, remember. Knees over toes. Trying very hard not to stick this hip out. Okay, that's going to make your knee turn in and cause all sorts of strange things happening in that knee joint. Can you try a few without your support, see how you get on? One more. And in. Okay, time for a little bit of stretching. We've done hips, we've done calves, but I think it won't hurt to do calves again. So remember to always sink into a stretch. You want to yield to the stretch, okay, rather than push, force and bounce. Okay, that's when you're going to tear something. So pushing that heel down, keeping the spine tall. At least 3 breaths. Now we're going to step onto that front leg, pick up your back leg. Knees together, pelvis tucked under. So do make sure your back isn't arched. If you do that, you're not actually getting a stretch in your quad. So think about lifting your hip bones at the front up towards your ribs. And release. Let's do that to the other side. So stepping back into your calf stretch. Now remember, we've done plenty on Achilles tendon flexibility with all those hip rolls, but if you wanted to, you could do Achilles tendon stretch when you've done your calf stretch by just bending your knee and keeping your heel on the floor. Right, let's step forwards, knees together. And release. Right, now for hamstrings, if you've got any spine issues, what I'd like you to do is to just push back, okay, and get a hamstring stretch that way. But if you can, we're going to come down to the floor. So back to your hip distance, take your arms up, forwards, nod the chin, curl down, come towards the floor. Now make sure you're pressing forward, so feel a bit more pressure in the ball of the foot than in the heel, and curl back up. Now we're going to invert the legs, toes together. We're going to do that again. You should feel that stretch in a different place. Might feel easier, might feel harder, but it should feel different. And curling back up. Okay, last 2. Cross over. And coming down. Remember to stay over your toes. Keep your heels down. Chest towards the thighs. And back up. Crossing over the other way. Pulled up. Coming down into that stretch. And back up. And open. Okay, very well done. Thank you for joining me this morning. Wednesday morning is our next session at 8:30, and we're going to be looking on Wednesday a little bit more at inner thigh and pelvic floor and what's happening with that when you're running as well. So hopefully you'll find that useful, and I'll see you soon.